My best friend set me up on a blind date. I was expecting the usual disaster, someone who looks nothing like their photos, or worse, someone who talks about their cryptocurrency portfolio for 3 hours. What I got instead was a woman in a hoodie so oversized it could fit two people, sneakers that looked like they survived the Noventa SE, and a laugh that made me forget I was supposed to be nervous. She told terrible jokes. Terrible asterisks. But I couldn't stop laughing. We split a pizza bill at an all-you-can-eat place, and she ate with her hands like she'd never heard of napkins. I thought I'd found my person. I thought I'd finally met someone real in this crazy world. What I didn't know was that the woman sitting across from me, making fun of her own puns and insisting on paying exactly half the bill, was actually Luna Carvalho, the youngest billionaire CEO in the country. The woman whose face is on magazine covers, the woman named one of the most influential people in the world. And I was about to walk into her office with zero idea what was coming. Before we continue, I want to make a special request. If you're a person with a good heart, help us achieve this dream. Reach 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment telling me which city you're watching from, so I know how far this beautiful story is reaching. Now, let's dive into Marina's world. My name is Marina, and I'm a freelance graphic designer living in New York City. Well, living is a generous word for what I do. I exist in a studio apartment in Queens that's so small, I can touch both walls if I stretch my arms. My rent is $1,200 a month, which is basically my entire monthly income after taxes. I eat ramen on Tuesdays, pasta on Thursdays, and on Fridays. I treat myself to takeout, which usually means a $7 burrito bowl from the place on the corner. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. On a Thursday evening in early March, my best friend Sarah called me with what she described as a life-changing opportunity. Sarah has been saying things like this since we met in college, usually right before suggesting I'd try some MLM scheme or go skydiving. So when she told me she'd set me up on a blind date, my first instinct was to say no. Come on, she pleaded over face. You haven't been on a date in 2 years, Marina. 2 years. I've been busy, I protested, adjusting my laptop so she could see my face. I was working on a logo redesign for a startup that was paying me exactly $400 for what would probably be 20 hours of work. You've been hiding? Sarah corrected. There's a difference. I met someone at yoga, and she's perfect for you. Trust me. I didn't trust her, but I was also tired of being alone. Tired of Friday nights spent editing photos and watching Netflix. Tired of pretending I didn't want someone to share my terrible apartment with, someone to laugh with, someone to make the small things feel less small. Fine, I said, but if this goes badly, I'm blaming you for the rest of your life. Sarah grinned. Deal. The date was set for Saturday night at Lucia's, an all-you-can-eat pizza place in Manhattan. Nothing fancy. I appreciated that. It meant if things got awkward, at least I could stuff my face with pizza and have an excuse not to talk. Saturday arrived, and I spent 3 hours getting ready, which, for me, meant showering, putting on clean jeans, and applying makeup that I'd bought on sale 6 months ago. I wore a black sweater that didn't have any holes in it, which felt like a win. I looked in the mirror and tried to convince myself I looked approachable. Maybe even cute? Probably not, but I was trying. I got to Lucia's at 7 p.m. sharp. The restaurant smelled like garlic and mozzarella, and the red and white checkered tablecloths made me feel like I was in a movie. I sat at the table Sarah had reserved, ordered a water, and waited. At 7:15, a woman walked in wearing an oversized gray hoodie that hung past her hips, black sweatpants, and sneakers that looked like they'd been through a war. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, and she had this confused expression on her face as she scanned the restaurant. Our eyes met. She smiled. A real smile, not the polished kind you see in magazines, but the kind that reaches your eyes and makes you forget to breathe. She walked toward my table, and I realized my heart was actually pounding. Marina, she asked, sitting down across from me. Yeah. You must be Luna. Guilty, she said, reaching for a breadstick before even saying hello properly. Fair warning, I'm terrible at small talk. I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy, and I'm probably going to eat way too much pizza. I laughed. Actually laughed. Not the polite laugh I usually do on dates, but a real one. I think we're going to get along just fine, I said. And in that moment, sitting in that cheap pizza restaurant in Manhattan, I had no idea that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't even imagine. I had no idea that the woman in the ridiculous hoodie, who was now telling me about her cat's obsession with plastic bags, was about to become the most important person in my world. I had absolutely no idea. The first date lasted for hours. Luna and I talked about everything. We started with the usual questions. Where are you from? What do you do? What's your favorite movie? But somewhere between the third pizza and the fourth glass of wine, it stopped feeling like an interview and started feeling like a conversation with someone I'd known my whole life. She told me about her cat, Mr. Whiskers, who apparently had a vendetta against plastic bags. He attacks them, she said, laughing so hard she snorted, like full-on assault. I think he believes they're his mortal enemy. I told her about my design work, about the clients who asked for logos in Comic Sans, about the startup founder who wanted me to make it pop without explaining what that meant. She listened like I was telling her the most interesting story she'd ever heard, asking questions, genuinely engaged. That sounds exhausting, she said, stealing another slice of pizza from my plate without asking. I didn't mind. It pays the bills, I said, barely. What would you do if money wasn't a problem? She asked, and there was something in her tone that made me think she actually cared about the answer. I'd never really thought about it. I'd been so focused on survival that I hadn't allowed myself to dream. I'd probably take on fewer clients and actually have time to work on passion projects, I said slowly. I'd love to design book covers, and maybe I'd move out of my shoebox apartment into somewhere with actual natural light. Luna nodded thoughtfully. That sounds nice. Real. Most people would say they'd buy a yacht or something. I don't even like boats, I said. I get seasick. She laughed so hard she nearly spit out her wine. You're perfect, she said, and something in my chest shifted. We left the restaurant at 11 p.m., and Luna walked me to the subway. The March night was cold, and she let me borrow her hoodie, which absolutely swallowed me whole. I looked ridiculous, and she couldn't stop laughing. You look like a little kid wearing your dad's clothes, she said, taking a photo on her phone. I'm keeping this. It's going in my phone's special folder. What special folder? I asked. She smiled mysteriously. You'll find out. At the subway entrance, she hugged me. A real hug, not the awkward side hug that most first dates end with. She smelled like pizza and something else. Something warm and expensive that I couldn't quite identify. Can I see you again? She asked. Like soon. Yeah, I said, trying not to sound too eager. I'd like that. Over the next week, we texted constantly. Luna sent me memes, terrible memes, the kind that made me groan and laugh simultaneously. She sent me photos of Mr. Whiskers attacking a plastic bag. She sent me voice messages where she told me about her day in this animated way that made me feel like I was there with her. We went on a second date on Friday, coffee in Brooklyn, a third date on Sunday, a walk through Central Park where she held my hand and told me jokes so bad that I actually had to sit down on a bench because I was laughing too hard. By the end of that week, I was falling for her. She was funny and kind and genuine. She didn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. She ate pizza with her hands. She wore clothes that looked like they came from a thrift store, and she laughed at her own jokes before anyone else could. She was real in a way that felt rare and precious. I told Sarah about her, and Sarah just smiled knowingly. I told you, she said. Didn't I tell you? You told me, I admitted. What I didn't know, what I had absolutely no way of knowing, was that Luna had been hiding something from me. Something huge, something that would change everything. It happened on a Wednesday morning in late March. I had a design project for a company called Lunatech Corporation. The client had reached out through my website, offering a substantial fee for a complete brand redesign. The email came from someone named Assistant to the CEO, and the budget was more money than I'd made in the past 3 months combined. I was excited. This was the kind of project that could actually help me pay my rent without eating ramen for a month. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. at their office in Midtown. I took the subway, clutching my portfolio and my laptop, trying not to be nervous. Luna was a huge company. I'd heard of them, seen their ads. This was a legitimate opportunity. The building was glass and steel, all modern architecture and expensive minimalism. I rode the elevator to the 42nd floor, my reflection multiplying in the mirrored walls. I looked professional. I looked capable. I looked like someone who belonged there. The receptionist directed me to a conference room. "Ms. Carvalho will be with you shortly," she said. I set up my laptop, arranged my portfolio, and waited. The door opened. Luna walked in wearing a tailored black blazer, white silk blouse, and pants that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hair was styled perfectly, her makeup was flawless, and she was wearing glasses that made her look like she'd stepped out of a business magazine. She stopped when she saw me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. "Marina," she said, and her voice was different, professional, controlled. "Luna," I said, standing up. "What are you? Why are you?" "I'm the CEO," she said quietly. "Of Luna Tech. Am Luna Carvalho." The room started spinning. "You're what?" She closed her eyes for a moment. "I'm the CEO? I've been the CEO for 5 years. I'm also apparently a billionaire, though I try not to think about it too much, and I'm really, really sorry." I sat back down. My legs didn't feel like they could support me anymore. "You lied to me," I said. "I didn't lie," she said, moving toward me. "I just didn't tell you the whole truth. I told you I work in business. That's true. I just didn't mention that I own the business. You didn't mention that you're one of the most influential women in the world." My voice sounded strange, hollow. "No," she admitted. "I didn't." I looked around the conference room at the expensive furniture, the view of Manhattan stretching out below us, the subtle signs of wealth and power everywhere. And then I looked at Luna, who was looking at me like her heart was breaking. "What?" I asked. "Why would you hide this?" She sat down across from me, and for the first time since I had met her, she looked vulnerable. "Because when I'm Luna Carvalho, the CEO, people want things from me," she said. "They want connections, they want funding, they want to use me. But when I'm just Luna, the woman in the hoodie who eats pizza with her hands and tells terrible jokes, people see me, the real me. And you saw me? You laughed at my jokes because they were funny to you, not because you were trying to impress me or get something from me. You were just yourself. And I got to be myself. And it was the best week of my life. I didn't know what to say. I was going to tell you," she continued. "I was planning to tell you this weekend. But then you got this project, and I panicked. I wanted to figure out how to tell you without losing you. And now," I asked. "Now I don't know," she said quietly. "I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if what we had was real or if it was just a fantasy. But I need you to know that every moment with you was real for me. Every laugh, every handhold, every terrible joke. That was all real." I looked Hachi, her really looked at her, and I saw both versions of Luna, the woman in the hoodie and the CEO in the blazer. And I realized I had no idea which one was real, or if they both were. I left the office without saying anything. I just packed up my laptop, walked past Luna, and took the elevator down. She didn't follow me, and I was grateful for that. I didn't know what I would have said if she had. I spent the rest of Wednesday in a fog. I went home, made tea, and sat on my bed staring at nothing. My phone buzzed constantly, messages from Luna, each one more desperate than the last. "Marina, please talk to me. I understand if you're angry. You have every right to be. I love you. I need you to know that. I love you." I didn't respond to any of them. Thursday morning, I called Sarah. She's a billionaire, I said without preamble. There was a long silence on the other end. Oh, Sarah said finally. Oh, no. You didn't know? I knew Luna worked in business, but I didn't know she was the asterisk Luna Carvalho. I mean, I should have made the connection, but she never. She seemed so normal. She is normal, I said. That's the problem. Or maybe that's not the problem. I don't know what the problem is anymore. Do you love her? Sarah asked. I don't know, I said. I thought I did. But did I love her? Or did I love the idea of her? The woman in the hoodie who seemed real and genuine and was that even real? Or was it just a performance? Marina, Sarah said gently. People are complicated. We're all performing in some way. We all hide parts of ourselves. That doesn't make the parts we show any less real. I wanted to argue with her, but I couldn't. Friday morning, I got a delivery at my apartment. It was a box from a fancy bakery, the kind that makes custom cakes. Inside was a cake decorated with a picture of Mr. Whiskers attacking a plastic bag, and written in icing were the words, "I'm sorry, I'm a billionaire. Love, Luna." Despite everything, I laughed. There was a note inside the box in Luna's handwriting. Marina, I know I messed up. I should have told you who I was, but I need you to understand something. I didn't hide who I am to hurt you. I hid it because for 1 week I got to be someone I've never been able to be. I got to be just Luna. Not Luna Carvalho, the CEO. Not the woman on magazine covers. Just Luna. The woman who loves terrible jokes and cats and pizza. The woman who fell in love with you. I understand if you can't forgive me. I understand if you want to walk away. But before you do, I want you to know that everything between us was real. Every moment, every love. Every time I held your hand, that was real. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to believe that the woman you fell in love with is real. She's me. The hoodie, the jokes, the terrible sense of humor. That's all me. I'm just also the CEO. I'm both, and I love you. If you want to talk, I'll be at Lucia's on Saturday at 7 p.m. The same table. I'll be wearing the hoodie. Love, Luna. I read the note 3 times. Saturday morning, I still didn't know what I was going to do. I went to work, tried to focus on a design project, and failed miserably. By 5 p.m., I was pacing my apartment, looking at the clock every 30 seconds. At 6:30, I put on the oversized hoodie that Luna had lent me a week ago, the one I'd been sleeping in because it smelled like her. I took the subway to Manhattan. I arrived at Lucia's at 6:55. Luna was already there, sitting at our table, wearing her gray hoodie and worn-out sneakers. She looked up when I walked in, and her whole face changed. "You came?" she said. "I came," I confirmed, sitting down across from her. "Does that mean?" "It means I'm here," I said. "It means I want to talk. It means I'm willing to try to understand. But Luna, I need you to be honest with me from now on. No more secrets, no more evending. Can you do that?" She reached across the table and took my hand. "I can do that," she said. "I promise." 3 months later, I was sitting in Luna's penthouse apartment, looking out at the Manhattan skyline and trying to process the fact that my life had become a romantic comedy. The past 3 months had been a journey of discovery. Not just about Luna, but about myself, about what I wanted, about what love really meant. After that night at Lucia's, Luna had been true to her word. No more secrets. She told me everything about her childhood, about how she'd built Lunatech from nothing, about the pressure of being a young female CEO in a male-dominated industry. She told me about the loneliness of her position, about how hard it was to trust people when you didn't know if they loved you or your money. And I told her about my fears, about my insecurity, about money, about feeling like I wasn't good enough, about the terror I'd felt when I realized she was someone so much more powerful than me. "You are good enough," Luna had said, holding me close. You're more than good enough. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. We took things slowly. We went on dates, real dates, where Luna didn't hide who she was. We went to fancy restaurants, but we also went back to Lucia's. We went to art galleries and museums. We went to Luna's office, and I got to see her in her element, commanding rooms full of people, making decisions that affected thousands of lives. And it was incredible. But what I loved most was when we were alone. When Luna would take off a blazer, put on her hoodie, and we'd sit on the couch with Mr. Whiskers between us, watching terrible movies and eating pizza. I have something to tell you, Luna said one evening in June. We were sitting on her balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. My heart immediately started racing. What? I've been thinking about something, she said, about us, about the future. Okay? I said cautiously. I want you to quit your freelance work, she said. I felt my stomach drop. What? Not because I want to control you, she said quickly, seeing my expression, but because I want you to have the freedom to do what you really love. I want you to design book covers. I want you to start your own design studio. I want to fund it. Luna, I can't. You can, she interrupted. Marina, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me do this. Let me help you build something. Not because I'm your girlfriend, but because you're talented and brilliant and you deserve to have the chance to do what you love. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say that I needed to be independent, that I couldn't rely on her money. But I also knew that she was right. I'd been so focused on survival that I'd forgotten about living. Okay, I said. Okay, let's do it. Luna's face lit up like the sunset. Really? Really? I said. But on one condition. Anything. You have to promise that you'll keep being yourself. The hoodie, the terrible jokes, the way you eat pizza with your hands, all of it. Promise me you won't become some polished CEO version of yourself. She laughed and pulled me close. I promise, she said. I'll always be the woman who fell in love with you at an all-you-can-eat pizza place. That's not going to change. By July, I had officially quit my freelance work and started my own design studio. Luna had helped me set it up in a beautiful office space in Brooklyn, but she'd been careful to let me make all the creative decisions. She was my investor, not my boss. By August, I'd landed 3 book cover design projects. Hail projects from real publishers, not because of Luna's connections, but because my portfolio was good. By September, I'd moved into Luna's penthouse, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. My studio apartment in Queens had served its purpose, but it was time for something new. And by October, on a night that looked exactly like the night we'd met, cold, clear, with the city lights twinkling below us, Luna got down on one knee. Marina, she said, pulling out a ring that was probably worth more than my entire life. I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other for 8 months, but I also know that you're the person I want to spend my life with. The real you. The woman who laughs at my terrible jokes and steals my pizza and makes me feel like the luckiest person in the world. Will you marry me? I said yes before she could even finish the question. And as she slipped the ring on my finger, Mr. Whiskers attacked a plastic bag in the background, and I realized that sometimes the best love stories are the ones you never see coming. Thank you so much for listening to Marina and Luna's story. I hope it reminded you that love often shows up in the most unexpected ways, and that the people we fall for are usually more complicated and real than we first imagine. Here's my advice for you. Don't judge people by their appearance or their job title. The most beautiful souls often hide behind hoodies and terrible jokes. And if you find someone who makes you laugh until you cry, who sees you for who you really are, hold on to them. That's rare. That's precious. That's worth everything. If you loved this story, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling me which city you're watching from. Your support means the world to me, and I'd love to know where this story is reaching. Thank you again for being here. May you find your Luna, whoever they are. May you find someone who loves you for you, not for what you have or what you can give them. And may you always remember that the best love stories are the ones where both people are brave enough to be real. God bless you all.